From CRI Simple Numbers, this is Profitability Playbook, the Simple Numbers Podcast, a podcast for those who champion market growth and anchor the nation's economy, small businesses, and entrepreneurs.
Hey there. Welcome back to the Simple Numbers Profitability Playbook Podcast. I'm Mike Maxson. That's Brandon Gray, and we are here for yet another episode of this. Thank you all for continuing to listen. Getting some good traction out there. So it's really inflating my ego.
Mike needs that in his life. So just if nothing else, share it for Mike.
Yeah, please do. But we got some cool topics we're going to talk about today. We got a cool article we want to go over, and then talk to you about buying a business or building a business. And we'll talk, some of those things there. But let's talk about this article here. We've done it before. We've done the media mash thing, but we just got one today. One with great points. It's called How Dave's Hot Chicken Beat Rising Labor Costs. This is by Heather Hayden. We pulled this over from the Wall Street Journal. So I want to make sure we get credit there. We did not write this, so all the credit to her. So, all right, Brandon, you sent this to me. So what you?
Yeah, it's hot chicken. So we got to talk about it. I mean, and by the way, if you have a Super Chicks franchise in your location, you have to get the Nashville hot chicken tenders.
Loves. Dude, let's go. I'm gonna go today.
I mean, we have fallen off the wagon. They're probably wondering where we are, but it is great. So
Cajun fries, Nashville herb chicken.
When you leave, like your eyes are watering, your nose is running, your mouth's on fire, and you're like, this is the best ever.
You're 3 to 4 pounds heavier.
They sell hot chicken, and they're in California, chain of restaurants, and California has been fairly aggressive with minimum wage increases. So the article is about, what do you do whenever you're hit with a minimum wage increase? And so, I call the lazy answer is, well, we're just immediately going to increase prices. And so, there's cases to where, like we talked a little bit about tariffs a call or two ago, session or two ago. There's cases to where, you got 25% tariff, you're not getting that much more efficient. You're not cutting that much overhead. So yes, there is a time to where you have to adjust pricing. And even with minimum wage, you're not going to get all the way there if there's a substantial increase without adjusting pricing. But the article had some pretty good points that as I'm reading through it, I'm just keep hearing labor efficiency, those kind of things. And they were creative. So think of if your business, you came in tomorrow and now you had to pay 20% more in labor. So nothing else has changed. How would you run the business differently? And the thing that we see with our clients, which I don't think are any different than every other entrepreneur out there, you don't make difficult decisions a lot of times until you're forced to. So we had a client years ago that was in they were in the home health business, and Medicare was their largest customer. They got about a 18-month notice that they were going to receive a 30% reduction in revenue. So you'll say they were getting $100 for this service paid by Medicare. It was going to go to $70. You can't change the service. Everything has to stay the same. So, what would you do different? And whenever you see when you place those constraints on your business, you start to think differently and creatively. And so when it comes to labor efficiency, they made an investment in dishwashing machines. So all the dishes had been washed by hands. That's pretty labor intensive. And you can kind of think about a chain of fast food restaurants. You're trying to get it up and going. You're trying to minimize your risk. So yeah, you might take a few shortcuts on the equipment, and dishwashers were one of them. Let me save several $1,000s. It may have been short-sighted, but nonetheless made that change, reduced labor costs, sped things up. So that was a nice efficiency gain. One that I'm not sure about how it's going to work in the long term, they put the kiosk in. So I'm buying fast food for a reason. It's fast.
And I'm not fast when I keep.
Oh, and if it's up to me to go in and put the order, and I'm picky. Everybody says I eat like a 4-year-old. I'm trying to take like onions off the cheeseburger, and I'm trying to, and it's just I'm all thumbs with it. So I'd rather just go in and talk to somebody and say, here's what I want. But a lot easier. But nonetheless, they put the kiosks in, had an investment in there. they outsourced certain aspects of cleaning. So what I like about this is they just didn't do it blanket. They said there are certain jobs that are labor intensive that no one enjoys doing, creates issues. And you know how it is, a job no one likes doing, they halfway do it.
When I worked at Wendy's back in the day, we'd have to go out. One of us someday would have to go out and spend all day and like power wash the grease off the friggin' one area like around the dumpster, because there was the grease the grease dumpster out there. I mean,
That's something nice to drive by,
yeah, well, that's what the idea was. You got to keep the ground clean because then the smell came from it and all that. Dude, they pay someone all day long. I mean, it was a multiple day thing to get that all done, but we'd have to do it ourselves.
Or what it gets back to is, are you going to be more efficient doing something you do maybe twice a month or something that you do every day? So kind of highest and best use. I don't need to be paying my guys out there cleaning around the dumpster. I need to make sure that they're delivering great service and that we're getting more efficient at that.
Yep.
So, it's kind of that. You can't be all things to all people. So what is it we do that are well? And, Mike and I have a ton of stories to where we thought we were pretty good at doing something or we could do something, and it just backfired out. It ends up taking if that project, and everybody's done it, it's the project you kind of say yes to, and then 4 months later, you haven't delivered on it, and you're just sinking money into it. Well, okay, find what you do well and say no to the other things. Another thing, I really like this one, Mike. So you probably kind of with your background have some thoughts on this. The packaging, they changed up their menu options. So they took things like fries and they put chicken and cheese on top of them. Well, guess what? They already had chicken and cheese. They just repackaged it for a higher margin.
Mm-hmm. People see value in that. Yeah, I mean, people love options, and I tell people all the time is that sometimes when you just have a one size fits all thing, or it's amazing what happens when you put it all together. And I'll give you an example with us is, we have, with the community model, for example, we were doing a bunch of these little things. Me and Brandon and our team had been doing all these things with the community model that we've been talking about on our calls here. And we finally put them all together and people are excited about it. It adds value. It's more value. And so, man, I got to buy fries and I got to order separately. Then I got to mix them together. No. All I got to do now is just order one thing. I get my chicken, cheese, and fries all in one. Thank you very much.
And, it gets back to what is the margin on that? Mm-hmm. And so, you're looking at a very minimum cost increase to put some cheese on there, that the value of a new item and something somebody really likes is high. So I can charge, $1 more for something I've got 20 cents in. I got 80 cents margin on that add-on. And their business is about volume. You do that enough times, and all of a sudden, I've been able to really add some margin dollars. And I've got a fast food restaurant client who did this. So they changed their drink prices. Drinks were one of the most profitable margin items they had. So they changed their drink prices a little bit, which, if you've got like 3 or 4 kids, that's where they get you, right? Is on the drinks. And, they take 3 sips out of the Dr. Pepper and then you're throwing it away. But nonetheless, I'll get off my rant. They changed your drink prices. But the thing my client did that I really like, they took the refill machines out of the dining room.
Oh.
Because what was happening, and not that they didn't want to give, they still gave refills. You just went to the counter. And I've noticed Chick-fil-A does this as well.
Yes.
So what you were seeing happen is people were just abusing it. Hey, I'm about to leave. Let me go refill everything up. Or I stop for breakfast. I come back in at lunch and I refill all my drinks. Yeah, it may not seem like a big thing, but if you got a bunch of locations and a handful of people abusing it, it starts to add up. So a small move there. They reworked their grease system where the grease was filtered and they could get a few more cooks out of it. A couple quotes that I really liked. It was a lot of little things.
Yep.
So when it comes to labor efficiency, most of the time there's not just one big thing we go and do. I'll give you an example from a contractor we work with. So they started having their vans, their technicians leave from their home to go service the client. They started having their vans restocked at night while the van was in the technician's driveway. If not, they're stopping by the parts house or what have you. So it's just all these little things, you add them up, and it makes a big difference. And the franchisor said, we just have to get better. We can't just simply raise prices and cover all this. We gotta find a way to get better. So whether it was automation, specialization, getting the most margin from packaging different products together, bringing in efficiencies with equipment, you name it. They did all of those things, and they estimated it was about $100,000 a year savings for each restaurant. So, hey, hats off to the hot chicken folks. Good job there.
Hey, you know what, we work with businesses, and we work with a lot every year. We get about 100 or so new clients a year, and it's so much fun when there are those little knobs that turn. And I think the business owners are excited. Listen, there are times where people come to us and you look at everything, you ask the questions, you model it out, you forecast, and you come back with like, listen, you got to sell more.
That's it. You have that to drive more about. You cannot get skinny enough.
Yeah, but hey, can we raise a little prices? Can we get more efficient in our COGS? Can we be more efficient in our labor? Is there any ineffective operating expense spends? Can we leverage marketing a little bit better? All those things are fun to talk about. And in a lot of your all's businesses, it is several little things. It is. And when things get really good, we all get lazy on them and overlook them instead of continuing to turn those knobs and
Well, there's a great play that I challenge everybody to make inside their business from the great game of business. So if we're wanting to improve our efficiency, our labor efficiency, our margin dollars, get 4 or 5 folks from different areas of the business together, come up with a game on what you can do to improve it. And I'm yet to be surprised by their willingness to participate, because everybody's excited about it. They'll come up with great ideas and implement it because they have ownership of it, and then make a game around it. Run it for 2 or 3 months, and hey, we hit these targets, then we're all going to get a gift card, or we're going to go do something really cool, or we're going to take off early on Friday and just make something fun. Everybody wants to do. I had a client one time, they hit their goals, they went skydiving, which I don't recommend. But nonetheless, they did something really cool. So gamify it and then put it to practice. So anyway, just want to talk about that. I thought that was a cool article.
Very cool. Yeah, I like that. Next thing, buying or building a business. This is a fun one. I run into this more with clients who are looking to start maybe a new sector of their business where they're like, hey, I need to add, I don't know, I think of attorneys, and you do, maybe you just do, you need to add litigation. Maybe you do one form of law, but you need litigation component. And do I go buy litigation practice, or do I build that out, right? Or just think of other areas of your business where maybe your IT company that does managed services, but you want to do cybersecurity. Do you start cybersecurity within yours, or do you go buy a cybersecurity business, or vice versa in that scenario? So things like that. I mean, Brendan, that's where my experience is with it. I not from a ground up part where we have people call us where they have nothing. We just lay that out for them.
Yeah, usually some type of add-on or a geographic expansion or something like that that you're looking and going into. And so a lot of talk around buying businesses, because you're starting to see that really heat back up. Plus, too, we're all aware of the numbers. A lot of folks are retiring or looking to retire that have held businesses for a long time, and that's their biggest asset. They need to have an event to be able to shift out of the workforce and enjoy retirement. And so there's basically 3 things that whenever you're kind of comparing them, and this isn't a comprehensive list, but 3 things stand out to me. So one is physical assets. They have equipment, they have land, if the land is what you need. They have buildings, they have infrastructure, vehicles, whatever it may be. I want to acquire those physical assets. I'm not so much, maybe they don't have a recurring customer base. I'm just really interested in the geography. And there's a lot of businesses that need that. The second one is customers. So like Mike said, they have, I don't know, cybersecurity customers, and you're looking to get into that. Okay, well, let me buy that customer base. And then the third thing is team. So it's the acqui-hire. I really need to go get the team to do this. They got a handful of key people. So I guess at a high level, a few things that we see whenever this works and whenever you're better off just to build it from the start. So one is, it kind of goes without saying, well, what's the cost going to be?
Yeah.
That's a lot of folks have a very emotional attachment to their business. They don't view it as an asset. And so they have an unrealistic expectation of what it should sell for in the marketplace. And they just have a crazy price. And you kind of go, well, it's a lot of work to build it. I think I'll just pay them this crazy price. Well, it's not going to work. It's not going to cash flow like you want it to. The payback period is going to be way too long. You were better off just to look and say, okay, I'm going to go find a couple key people and maybe make this work versus trying to just acquire it. So, it's pretty cut forward if it's the asset side. What are those assets worth? What's the dirt worth? Kind of start there. There might be a little bit of a premium you pay for the business, but there's just not a lot there on the customer list. So, there's a lot of legalities involved in terms of if there is a sale of the company, how does that impact current contracts? So obviously you want to seek counsel on that. But one of the things I really like there is if you're going after the customer base, which in a lot of cases that is, if you got a lawn care business and you're looking to acquire somebody because they got X number of customers, technique that we really like is there's dollars left in escrow for customers who cancel right after the transaction. But once again, you're relying upon them that they're giving you a good customer list and that it's all legit. And yeah, you may bet some of it, but I've seen a lot of cases where folks go after a customer list, and then by the time it's said and done, they find out that wasn't what I thought I was buying. So leave some dollars in escrow, and if those customers cancel within a certain period of time or don't renew or whatever it may be, it can come out of that escrow. And there's ways to negotiate that, obviously, but I like that. What you're comparing that cost to is, okay, what are the marketing efforts, systems and processes I have to build, all of those kind of things to go and acquire that customer. And you better have a pretty good value proposition in the current marketplace, because as Greg has said many times, you got to go steal the customers. So comparing those two costs and the expertise I have at that, if I'm great at sales, I have a big issue. If I'm more of an operations person, that can be a little bit of a challenge. And then on the team one, same kind of thing. Rarely do I see one of our clients acquire another business and that team be ready to roll as the new owner kind of does things. That's a lot of times there's a pretty big gap in expectations. They're either not used to the systems and processes or the level of efficiency or the makeup, whatever it may be. They just don't work. And so I always tell folks, that's a tricky one. And you're comparing, obviously, what's the cost of acquiring that labor versus the time and money spent to go and recruit it and bring it over. But that's a hard one to pull off. I've seen it done. But, if you think you might have a great operations person and all I got to do is, hey, their number 2 is great, I'm going to go in and acquire this. They're just going to run it and it's going to be out of sight, out of mind, mailbox money. You're in for a rude awakening.
There's always more cost than what is led on to believe. And you think, oh, I just got to buy the business. But everything that racks up, from people to lawyers to insurance to time to everything along the way, is, can you quantify that? Yeah. And add that on and know what that's going to be? Because like Brandon said, oh, you think they're just going to run it? No. There's going to be some effort in on your part to do it, more than you think.
The hidden cost you got to really kind of watch. This is probably more so for the build versus buy, is what is it going to do to my existing operations? Because especially if you're the key driver for all that, if you're the key salesperson, if you're the key ops person, and now I'm taking my off that ball and I'm going after this one over here, you're likely going to see some decline. Yeah. Just how it works. And so you got to keep that into consideration too, as you kind of look at them. But we've had some clients pull off some great acquisitions. The key is obviously the purchase price. They got the purchase price right. They knew going into it, they're going to have to turn over the team. It was going to be a rebuilding project. So, it took about a year to kind of get all the folks out that were pretenders, get the right people in doing the right things, and roll from there. And then, and in both cases, there have been substantial investments back into the infrastructure of the business, whether that's in the facilities that needed upgrading or the equipment that needed upgrading. And then, as we mentioned, the team and what have you. So, we're happy to talk through those with you guys. If you're looking at which way do I go, we can use some modeling or kind of looking at, okay, what's your growth or your cost of growth to go and build it versus, if you acquire it. And I'll tell you one other little thing here, then we'll wrap this up. If your plan for growth is I'm going to go hire someone and they're going to build my presence for me in another area, it's the person, not the market. You can be in the best market in the world, but if you miss on that person, you're not going to be successful. And you're going to get 6 months down the road and you're going to have sunk $250,000 into this project, and it's going to be nowhere closer to being completed than when you started. But you have to be really sure that person is the one, So.
And I think one more thing on that too, though, is that most people, before they go to do it, because I had a client build out a certain practice in their business. It was a law firm. You gotta, think of the cash that you're going to need to think about it. And they planned ahead of time. They built up their coffers with cash. So they knew that, hey, if I'm going to go build this out, I'm probably hiring ahead of time. I'm going to wait till I get work. I'm going to have to do that. And that's going to take a significant cash investment. A lot of time when you're maybe acquiring someone, you might finance and things like that. And some of the money's there, but you got to cash flow that loan. But when you're building it out too, is think of all the things you're doing ahead of time before you ever build that out. And think of because they had to hire, hey, we're going to build this out. We're going to start selling it. I got people here to do it. So you might hire 2-3 bodies before a sale's ever made.
My most successful example of geographic expansion, client of ours, and they kind of got the process, I wouldn't say 100% dialed in, but it's getting closer. Identify the market. Does it check all your boxes of this is a place we would succeed? But the most important one is they have got just a phenomenal leadership development program to where there are multiple locations. So they're always kind of grooming not only the managers at those locations, but the next managers who are going to come in. So they'll go to manager of a location. They've been super successful there, an assistant, and say, hey, we're going to move you over here. We're going to, here's your package to move. That person moves. They're already ingrained in the culture. They're already a leader. They already know how to do it. And then they promote that next up and coming leader to back. And it's a program that they've been working on for years. So, it's not hey, we started this 3 months ago. No, they started it like 7 or 8 years ago. So, some of the up and comers, they've been getting leadership training, how to run an office, how to run a crew, all those kind of things for the last 4 or 5 years. So they're, it's like getting called up to the majors. You've got a great farm system and what have you, but they have really nailed it. And I would even say, even with that, we sometimes think the market checks all the boxes, and you get into it, you realize, this one's different, but you got to still be able to pivot. But nonetheless, those are a few things. Like I said, happy to model those things out, chat with you guys. That's all I got, Mike. What else you got?
No, man, that's good for today. We got to save some ammo for next week. So,
all right, we'll see if we can get some hot chicken here for lunch.
There you go, man. Well, all right, everyone. Thanks for joining us today, and we will catch you all next week.
If you want to know more about driving sustainable profitability for your business, or are interested in learning more about CRI Simple Numbers, please visit our website at simplenumberscri.com. Thanks for listening to this episode of Profitability Playbook, the Simple Numbers Podcast. You can subscribe to Profitability Playbook on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you prefer to listen to podcasts. If you liked what you heard today, please leave us a review. The views expressed on Profitability Playbook, the Simple Numbers Podcast, are those of the presenter and moderator and do not necessarily reflect the views of CRI Simple Numbers or the CRI family of companies. This podcast is intended for informational and educational purposes only and is not intended to replace professional advice received directly. Consult with your CRI Simple Numbers advisor or another trusted professional if you have questions about your specific situation.